The problem I have is this. I know everyone's looking at Vitality, Dom, and they're like, oh, last week you were right. They've nailed it. Everything's awesome. Like, bro, how the fuck did they win that Fnatic game? That was a fucking gift and a half right there. So, like, to me, on like, there's a world where Vitality could be 2-1. They do look really good, though. But to me, the only one that actually looked like super flawless, I thought G2 did look amazing, mate. Like, I was wrong on that one. I had them number 4. I told you, I didn't know if this guy would be good. He was fucking smurfing those first games, mate.
Yeah, I mean, G2 definitely looked the best. I think Vitality, when you consider the fact that they're like, I mean, if you listen to their comms, they're dealing with, 2 players learning English. They obviously didn't get everyone there super early, so they haven't been able to just practice for weeks and weeks and weeks. I feel like for what my expectation was, which was that they would like start slow but be really good eventually, I think they exceeded my expectations for week 1. I thought they would drop a game here. I thought they would either lose the Fnatic game or the Mad game, but it seems like the interesting part about Vitality, if we want to jump there, I think the interesting part about them is that Bo doesn't look like he can only play carry junglers. Like, he played Graves in the first game.
Did everything. He played Sejuani, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, he played the Sejuani, and he was actually good on Sejuani.
Yeah, true.
He looked good on Sejuani, and then he played Vi, and he was by far the best Vi that we saw this weekend. Like, he just has a different mindset as towards like how to capitalize on people inting. He has that killer instinct that he's got, that just like LPL killer instinct that you don't really see in other regions. So I actually think that the team had probably the best week 1 I can imagine, given all the factors. And also, I mean, the other new player that you have to talk about is Photon, who I didn't really have expectations for. I mean, I never watched a game of his, right? So like, I didn't go back and watch T1 challengers. Like, I don't normally do that.
All you need to know is I didn't even hear hype from Korean people about this. Like, I have some like Korean connections. They didn't even hype this guy, mate. I heard nothing, so I was amazed. I thought he fucking smurfed.
Yeah, he played really well. So the only thing that I really considered when it came to Photon was the location that he came from. T1 challengers. T1 challengers just produces good fucking players.
They have, yes.
Berserker, Owner, like, I mean, if you just go down the list, Zeus came from T1 challengers, Closer came from T1 challengers. I mean, you just go down the list, Guma, like, there's just been so much talent coming from that organization and that academy team specifically that, if you're going to get a rookie and you get shot down multiple times on your plan A, plan B, and you just need a player to fill the spot, that's a perfect place to go get him. So for me, I actually thought that, given where I expected they would start, I thought they would be like maybe like a 4th, 5th looking team and then get it together towards the end of the split. Comparing to that expectation, I think they actually did pretty well. I mean, they do look like the second best team in LEC.
Oh, for sure. Yes. I'm just saying, I make the distinction. Like, I'll give G2 it full on. They did get the 10 out of 10 flying marks. The Vitality one was a little bit more questionable. By the way, what you mentioned there about the comms, it's funny how people have different takes on it. Because, when they put that comm clip up where they were doing the Baron, it was a bit messy. Dude, I actually thought that sounded really good. Bear in mind, just remember for a second, guys. One guy, the top laner, is Korean. The jungler is fucking Chinese. Both of them are young. And look, I will say, actually, they did actually have half decent English. Like, Bo's English actually seemed way better than people expected. But even so, like, the idea that in your first week of official play, like, I actually thought those comms, this is what's weird, Dom. I know a lot of people naively think like perfect comms are like when it's like really like everyone's just like never talking over. It's no, that to me, they actually seemed there. Like, they sort of had a grasp of like whose voice to listen to when, because it sounded like it was like a negotiation, if you heard the Baron explanation, between like fucking Bo and Perks of like when to go in and like the timing, and they actually sounded like they coordinated it pretty well, mate. They sound like they sort of understand each other.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't like out of that whole comm sequence is how many times Photon was like saying the same information that they like,
a lot. Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm up in 15, I'm up in 14, 13, 12, 11, like I'm TPing in 12, 11, 10, 9. Like it was like, Jesus, man. Like shut the fuck up, man. Like, we're gonna wait. Like we're waiting for your TP. Like, chill the fuck out. That was the only part of it that I was like, okay, like this is, cluttered comms, and it's obviously from like nerves of like, he's the guy dead, and he's like, oh shit, like I just died, don't int the whole game while I'm dead. Everyone has that feeling, like if you've played solo queue before, where you're carrying the game and you die one time. I mean, he wasn't carrying the game, but he was really strong in the game. You die one time and then your team just gets aced, and you lose Baron, and the whole game is lost off one death, where it's like, come on, it didn't need to be that bad. Like, I made a mistake, but we didn't need to go there with how much it affected the team. So that was the only part I didn't like. I thought that there was, I saw random criticism on that clip for like Bo. They're like, oh, like Bo looks like really like he's really like not confident about his smiting. It's like, no, like he ulted a Wukong. The Wukong flashed over the wall. He's out of the pit. So he's yelling at Neon, who's actually griefing there by hitting the Baron to stop hitting the fucking Baron.
Exactly.
Like, just look, the play is simple. We keep Baron aggroed until the K'Sante is able to join. We have a massive HP advantage because the Vi was tanky enough to actually just perma-tank the Baron. And then when they come in to steal, we deny vision. They're going to have to come in at a weird time to steal. When their jungler comes in to steal, we Vi ult him, we kill him, and we do Baron. Like, that was clearly the idea that Bo had the entire time, which is actually a really smart way to play it. When I saw him start tanking that Baron, like, just 1v, like, they're in a 4v5 and he just starts tanking the Baron, just starts hitting the Baron in front of them and keeping it aggroed, I was like, damn, like, that is fucking smart. I don't know how many players would have the confidence to understand that situation. It's like he has such a great intuitive understanding for how to, like, really exploit mistakes from the enemy team that it's something that gives you hype for the league because you haven't had a player like this. Like, when was the last time you had an import in LEC that looked like this in their first week?
Oh, never. Like, I mean, let's be real. Even Malrang, who obviously was, like, probably the best example of, like, a true import, it still took him a while to get it all going awesome, and everyone questioned him. Like, dude, this guy, like you're saying, the debut was almost as perfect as it could get. Like, the real sad thing about this debut, by the way, is this will sound whack as a criticism, because obviously it's brilliant for LEC, but because me and you watch the LPL, it just makes me sad again, remembering what this guy could have done with fucking Doinby. Guys, with Doinby! We're talking peak Doinby as well, if you don't know, like when he actually became like a fucking really good laner. Like, mate, they actually could have won worlds together. These guys are insane. Like, it's actually all, but the joke is that that's why it was worth the gamble always, because this guy never should have even been available for a fucking LEC team. It's not even the best LEC team's Vitality. It's not even like G2. Like, the idea you pick this guy up, that's why there won't be more imports like this, because the joke is, it's only because of the weird circumstances, that he'd ever not be in an LCK or LPL team in it, so...
They have to be blacklisted from the LPL. Like, you have to find blacklisted players from the LPL, but not blacklisted enough. Like, there was a recent wave in last summer where there was like 27 players and coaches got fucking perma-banned from all Riot competition. You got to find like the banned for 4 months guy. You got to find that Maoan guy that you know leaked fucking strategies to bookies over like titty pictures at Worlds from 2021. You need to find that guy, and maybe if that guy is good enough, then you'll have the chance to do something and have that high quality player. But all things considered, I'm happy that I bought the Bo stocks, because everyone was like, no, he's too hyped. There's no way for him to live up to the hype, because he's like, the hype is just too much. It's like, no. If you watched him play, like, there's hype. Oh, no,
that's weird. Yeah, that's the weirdest take of all, Dom. Because if you go back, you can go back and watch the last episode if you're a random fan and you think we're just making it up and change our opinions. I even say on the episode, it's nothing to do with him individually, by the way. Like, the problem is when you have the eye test that guy has, Dom, when he plays solo queue, like, I'm sorry, that guy has to be good at League of Legends. It's actually impossible he is somehow a fraud. Like, here's the difference, Dom. When people would tell me, like, oh my God, you've got to see Kiri as LP. If I go and watch him, it's just like watching a normal player in the US. Yeah, he's good. But I'm not like, oh my God, what's he doing? Like, he's reinvented jungle. Like, this guy did look like that. Like, the eye test has never checked out better for a fucking rookie jungler than this guy, for real. Like, I've never even seen a career, even like fucking Tarzan and when the first guy, even they weren't like this, mate. Because that's the other thing. This guy, you nailed it as well. The other thing that's going to be crazy about Vitality is this. Everyone thought, right, best case scenario, this guy's just like a carry jungler / constant aggro, right? Dude, the craziest thing is not only does he show the full showcase of what you can do as jungle, so did Photon as a top laner. Like, dude, that is the craziest thing about Vitality. Bear in mind, they've hit the ground like this. This team could be the complete best Western team by far, because they actually look for real. Like, they're going to have insane fucking versatility in the draft and the style of play. Like, when they made this team, a lot of us said about the Photon guy, like, well, look, all he has to do is be a Korean weak side top laner, let Neon carry in the team fights, perks to wish it. The joke is they can play through all lanes now if they want. Like, they actually look like this team's going to be even better than people thought. They're more than some of their parts, maybe. I know it's just week 1, so obviously maybe we'll be sobered by week 2, but it's looking fucking great.
I mean, there's specific things that you can look at in the game where you're like, this guy's for real. I mean, you could take the stats. I mean, he got first blood all 3 games, right? Like, so Vitality played 3 games. Bo is killing people before he's level 6 in every single game. But I think there's certain things that are missed when you're watching the broadcast that are so fucking smart that will level up LEC if other people catch on. So, for example, the first thing that I think about, that Vi game that he played into El Yoya, right? The Vi game he played in game 3 versus Mad Lions. He goes into his bot side jungle level 3, and Sejuani is there, or whatever champion El Yoya was playing. Maybe it was Wukong. I think El Yoya was playing Wukong, actually. Yeah. So El Yoya is there, right? And he gets chunked out, and he knows also that the enemy support, Bo knows that the Mad Lion support, Hillsong, is also there. So Lulu and Wukong are actually invading, and they chunk him out. And what he does is most people would get chunked out of their jungle and they would go like, oh, well, I'm just going to go to like the enemy top side, or I'm just going to go back to my top side, or I'll try a gank top. What he does is Bo just waits in mid lane, knows that they're going to take his blue, and then he walks through that same path and then loops around and kills Niski. There's no way Niski could ever expect him to be there. He's like, oh, we have control of this side. Like normally you learn that
process of elimination.
You chunked him out of that side. That is your side to hug. So Niski can play super aggressive, knowing that all he has to avoid is the top side play. But Bo actually comes and hits him from the bot side of mid while he just got chunked out. Like the presence of mind to understand the mind game there, know that they're going to take his buff and then like go unseen and gank mid. I thought that was super, super impressive. And that's the difference between somebody like Bo and somebody like Karay, for example. When you watch Karay play, he's really smart about how to win solo queue games, but you could see that there's like a lack of mechanics there. You could see that he's just not the best mechanical player. Like he's good enough to be rank 1, obviously, but there's something lacking. But when you watch Bo play, he's got everything. He's got the mental game on lock, and then also the mechanical proficiency is insane. I mean, there was a clip on Reddit today where I was watching him play Jace, and I'm like, yeah, that might be one of the best Western Jaces I've ever seen. Like, if you just go watch him play a champion that's mechanically difficult in another role, he's carrying the game. He's like the best AD carry on the fucking server as well.
They had that meme that they made. I saw Neon made that joke where they were like, that Neon's actually like the 3rd best ADC on Vitality because of perks as well. That's pretty good, whoever came up with that. That's good banter.
It's funny, but like it's actually
it's probably true though. Yeah, it is. Come on.
It's like people are like that everyone's just memeing like, like it's all jokes. But then if you saw them all play AD carry, it's like, no, that's just facts. Like
also, there's another thing, by the way. As an aside, that is also a reason I do think low key, Dom, that a lot of the Western players who are junglers and supports actually are slightly overrated as individual players. And the theory goes like this. I don't know how this works in American sports, but basically in football, European soccer, the way it works like this, Dom, in terms of the positions you play, is no one actually picks their position. I don't know if you know this. What happens is when you're a little kid, you just play football. And obviously when you play as a little kid, you just play, it's not even a game, and you're not playing roles or anything. You just play, you run the ball, you kick it around, you try and score. And what happens is basically when you play your first ever like semi-organized games, maybe the school puts on a game or you try out for a team, what they do essentially is it's a bit like an NFL combine. You just play a bunch of games randomly, and then what happens is the coach decides what your position is, basically. So essentially the problem with the concept, Dom, is this. If you're just not that fast, and you're the joke is you're just going to end up as the defender or the goalkeeper or something, aren't you? Like, you're not going to be the striker or the winger. Like, they're the best positions. So realistically, the actual way the sport, in theory, is just like decided is initially based on like how sort of like overall your ability level is, and they sort of put it's like league in that sense. Like in theory, like the most skilled player with all the best should be the mid laner. You know, like you could imagine how you could set the roles up. The problem is this, right? Where I'm going to get to is this. I actually feel like Western League of Legends is like that, dude. Like most of the time, people with junglers and stuff, maybe they are people who don't want to be the top player or something. The support player, I mean, the memes write themselves, but a lot of people were the worst player, or they were a guy playing with friends, or they have a mate who's a really good ADC, right? I do get the vibe there's some of that. So you get the occasional player who is a monster at those roles, and it's just but it's very rare. I think in general, they are just weaker player. The joke is, if you ever go to the Asian regions, because I've heard this about other like Chinese and Korean junglers and supports, by the way, some of those guys, for real, like people have even said on their teams, they were like mechanically better. You've heard these stories about some of the Korean supports. Like there's stories where some of them could like beat their mid laner 1v1. Like yeah, the story about SOFM, there's a similar one. The sport he used to like 1v1 or fucking like Jiaohu and beat him or something mental like that. Like what? You know, like some ridiculous story. Like, yeah, the joke with the Asian players is that's why they are just so OP. Because I get the vibe, like, they do just decide, like, I'm going to be a jungler. And it's like, but you have the best mechanics in the whole game. Yeah, I'm just a jungler with the best mechanics. Like, fucking hell, like, that is OP. That's totally OP if you got that. It's why Kerry, if you don't know, guys, if you're one of these idiots who thinks, like, the player won or lost, Kerry is probably like the best player in the world last year, and he didn't win Worlds. Like, that's what a support can be like from Asia. They could just be like the absolute 10 out of 10 level on all the skill metrics, mechanics. Like, that's why, because here's the thing we're getting to, basically, Dom, is, right? Think about how we always praise Jankos as the brain jungler. Obviously, I'd say Elyoy is probably the modern day mechanics jungler. Like, this guy, even though we've only seen a week, he's on another level mechanically. I don't think I've ever seen a young player just come out the gate like this. Normally as well, you have a stage game where you feel nervous or something. You just not got any of that affected him, mate. He hasn't had a single moment he looked like he slowed down.
I mean, see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.